So we're talking about UK residential property which is being held through a non-UK structure of some sort. And from the 6th of April, UK residential property will be within the UK inheritance tax net, however it's held. So too will loans used to fund the purchase or the maintenance of UK residential property and collateral used for such loans. In the past, non-UK domiciled individuals or trusts would typically hold UK residential property through a non-UK company, which would keep it insulated from UK inheritance tax, which obviously had significant benefits. That won't be possible anymore. Offshore structures still provide other advantages, it's just that it won't be very sensible in future to hold UK residential property through offshore structures. Of course, for other assets, in the right circumstances, they provide great tax efficiency and asset protection. So if UK residential property is already held in an offshore structure of this type, then you'll want to consider de-enveloping, preferably before the 6th of April, which basically means transferring the residential property out of the structure, probably to an individual. For any future purchases, you'll need to think very carefully about how the property is going to be held. It may be that a structure is no longer appropriate, and simple ownership by an individual might be best. There'll obviously be an inheritance tax exposure for people holding the property individually, but they can mitigate that risk by, for example, having appropriate UK wills or by taking life insurance to cover the inheritance tax risk. If you're de-enveloping, i.e. transferring a residential property out of a structure, you need to consider carefully the potential capital gains tax and stamp duty land tax hit that you might be triggering by doing that. It can be really substantial, particularly if the beneficiary who's receiving the property is UK resident. The tax change which makes UK residential property subject to inheritance tax, however it's held, comes in on the 6th of April. It would be better if any de-enveloping that you're considering were done before then, but it's not necessarily the case that you can't do it afterwards if you haven't had the opportunity. But the most important thing is that any structures holding UK residential property should be reviewed as soon as possible.